Well, it's been about a week since Star Wars The Force Awakens came out in theaters. I'm pretty sure everyone has had a chance to see it, and if you haven't, get to it, seriously, because it's the best movie of the year, at least in my opinion. And with that being said, I figured I'd give it some time before I do a spoiler review, because I need everybody to see it, and, well, here it is. So, this being a spoiler review, I'm giving everybody a warning right now. If you haven't seen the movie yet, turn the camera off right now, go watch another video, because this is very spoiler heavy, major details, and possible theories from future movies. So, with that being said, here we go. Okay, from the moment the movie starts, the first thing I notice is that, okay, there's a bunch of stormtroopers flying down to a planet, and they're about to start some shit with the good guys, or presumed good guys, kind of like in Episode 4, New Hope. Which is really interesting, because this movie is basically, it has a whole bunch of recaps from A New Hope in it, and they're sprinkled all throughout the film. You have to start with the stormtroopers in action, they're killing off the good guys, and they're trying to fight. You have Poe Dameron, played by Oscar Isaac, hiding some information in the droid that's known as BB-8, and the droid has to get away, so if they capture it, the First Order will know where Luke Skywalker is. Speaking of Luke Skywalker, it's nice to know that in the opening title, it blatantly says Luke Skywalker has vanished. That's all you need to know right there about the movie. Luke Skywalker has just straight up disappeared. Why? We don't know. Where is he? We don't know. And you won't find out for a long, long time where Luke is. So to get the plot going, you have Oscar Isaac's character Poe getting captured by Kylo Ren, and he's going to be interrogated. Now, one of the first cool things I saw about Kylo Ren was the way he walked out, and Poe takes a shot at him from a distance, but then as soon as he fires, Kylo Ren just turns around like, whoosh! Like that, and then you see the blast still floating in midair. It just stops. You can hear this little low-level boom when it happens. And you can also see Poe just freeze right where he is, like he can't move at all. That's something I didn't really see in any of the last 6 movies regarding the Force or the prequels. You never actually saw them stop a laser blast in midair and just hold it and let it levitate for a second. That's actually pretty awesome. And then when they get ready to leave, Kylo Ren just kind of forgets about the blast, and it just, like, goes off to its intended target and explodes. And then you have Finn, who's the stormtrooper, or one of the ones who's being told to go on this mission, and he suddenly starts having a change of heart when they told him to execute the prisoners, and he doesn't go through with it. So by the time he gets up to the ship, the Star Destroyer, he decides, you know what, this isn't my life. So he breaks out Poe, and they escape and to a TIE fighter, and they flee to Jakku. What I liked about this scene is the fact that the two of them seemed to hit it off right away. They actually became real good friends, or as close to friends as you can get right away, but they add some comedy into the mix, where Poe says, you need a pilot, and Finn's like, I need a pilot. Yeah, that's what I really need. And the way they're escaping, they're just having a good time enjoying it. Like, instantly, you can tell they're going to be a good team right off the bat. Well, that's until their ship gets knocked out of orbit and starts falling to the planet, and it crashes, and Finn has to get away, and he runs into the town, where he eventually meets up with Rey. Speaking of Rey, she's just a typical girl. She's just a scavenger on Jakku, just trying to make a living on a very rough planet, which is presumably Tatooine. Even in trailers, you see her just like scavenging through this old ruined Star Destroyer looking for spare parts. So she finds BB-8, she finds Finn, they have a little connection of some sort. They try to get away. The First Order is set to kill them, and that's when one of the first memorable scenes in the movie comes in for me. While the two of them are running away from the TIE fighters, they look at one of the ships and says, we'll use that ship. I'm like, no, that ship's garbage. And it doesn't know what I'm talking about. Like, so we'll use this ship. And right before they get to the ship gets blown up. Oh, and then Rey's like, okay, we'll take the garbage. And then camera pans over to the Millennium Falcon. And then you hear a little Star Wars theme in the background like, da, 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 da. And my first thought is, oh my God, we're going to see Han and Chewie. Except they're not on the ship. Now this begs the question, where exactly are Han and Chewie then? Are they about to steal their ship? Well, later on, as it turns out, their ship actually got taken from them when we do meet them. And they're on this little pirate base still having pirate smuggler trouble because Han still owes somebody. Kind of like he still owes somebody in Episode 4 with Jabba. But this time, well, they get away and they don't have to deal with these pirate scumbags anymore. Now what's interesting about this little interaction is that Han gives off some dialogue that says that, well, the Jedi, the Sith, all that nonsense, they're real, which is interesting because even in Episode 4, he wasn't really a believer. He just said he doesn't believe in anything mystical or magical. Well, apparently 30 years in time have actually had an effect on him because now he believes it, all of it. And he's wondering, well, who are these two kids? And Finn and Rey are just like, where's Luke Skywalker at? We need to get this map to the Resistance in BB-8. And Han doesn't know where Luke is. No one knows where Luke is. Let's also talk about Leia a little bit. She's no longer Princess Leia. She's General Leia. She's been promoted now. She's been leading the Resistance, which is actually what's part of the New Rebels for some time now. And they haven't seen each other in a while, so I imagine things went sour. You later learn that the two of them were married at some point and they had a son who, spoiler alert, is revealed to be Kylo Ren, but he went to the dark side. And now he's leading the First Order. So, and that put a rift in their relationship, and I don't think it ever recovered. But you wouldn't know it because when they first see each other after like the battle of on the planet where Mosca Nada is, they look at each other and they kind of have that really like, it's been a long time look, like nothing anger or hateful, just they're kind of relieved to see each other. All of which is broken up by C-3PO poking his head in the middle of their conversation like, oh, hi. Speaking of Mosca Nada, who's played by Lupita Nyong'o, let's talk about her. One very important scene for me is that when Rey is just kind of going down in her cellar, looking for things and wandering off, she finds this old crate. And in the crate is Anakin's lightsaber, but it's passed off as Luke's lightsaber. Now, here's my big issue with that scene, which isn't a major nitpick, but that's the same lightsaber that Anakin had that Luke took in The Empire Strikes Back that got lost when Vader cut his hand off and is now at the bottom of Bespin. So that begs the question, how did Mosca Nada get that? I've been wondering that for a while. A whole bunch of people have said someone found it for her and she took it, but that begs the question, how did that person find it? Especially when it's been floating in God knows where in Bespin for the last 30-something years. And that's a huge planet from what I remember. Shouldn't Luke's lightsaber be black with the gold copper rings on it and have a green blade? Anyway, when Rey touches the lightsaber, it kind of like gives off these little secret visions and all that stuff. You see a whole bunch of visions. You see a clip from The Empire Strikes Back. You hear some voiceovers from Obi-Wan and Yoda. And then you see the little clip of Luke with his face shrouded over a hood touching R2-D2 in the middle of the desert. And still no sign of where Luke is. So anyway, regarding Kylo Ren, the bad guys, the other aspect of the film, they now lead the First Order, which is basically the remains of the Empire reorganized into a new government. And they're more or less the same, except a little bit more ruthless. They have this new place called Starkiller Base, which is essentially another Death Star. And I know everybody just sighed like, ugh, not another Death Star, that's 3, they never work. This Death Star is actually a planet with a huge solar super laser in it. And it's pretty fucking powerful because you see them use it, and it shoots out this really slow laser beam that instead of destroying one planet, it blows up multiple planets at once. And you can see one of those planets. You can actually see the viewpoint of the people on the planet as they're about to be wiped out. You never saw that with the original Star Wars where you saw people's perspective of their imminent doom happening, but here it is, and it's oddly beautiful. And remember that little screen cap in the trailer where you see Kylo Ren standing on the Star Destroyer and there's this red glare going across the screen? That's what that is. By now you're probably all thinking, okay, so if I know A New Hope, then this is probably going to end with the Resistance going out and blowing up Starkiller Base. Which is exactly what happens. That's basically it. It's more or less the ending of A New Hope. Like I said, it's very familiar in my spoiler-free review. So, obviously we know what's going to happen. Will the good guys win? More or less. Now, on to Kylo Ren. Kylo Ren's played by Adam Driver, and he's the new Sith bad guy. He's obviously been doing this for some time, but we don't know how long. But you can also tell he's not quite right in the head. He's not 100% stable, because he's prone to lashing out and flipping out all the time and destroying stuff and using his lightsaber just to, like, take out a temper tantrum. I'll give an example. Did anyone notice in one scene where this poor officer has to report to Kylo Ren that everybody was unable to capture Finn and Rey, and he just lashes out on the control panel, and he just goes, and we're just looking at this poor officer knowing that's probably going to be him in a couple seconds, because if anything from the Star Wars movies, it's that having to report bad news to the Sith Lord is not good for you. But surprisingly, Kylo Ren just looks at the control panel and just says, anything else? The officer says no. But then at that second, he mentions that there was a girl with him, and then Kylo Ren snaps, and he just pulls the guy toward him, and he's like, what girl? And that, my head got me thinking, does he know Rey? Are they familiar? Have they met before? And then the more I think about it, the more I start having this theory that maybe there's something more about Ren and Rey than meets the eye. Maybe there's something about them that we don't know yet. Maybe they're connected. Maybe they're siblings. But then I thought to myself, they can't be siblings because it's pretty clear earlier that Han and Leia had a kid, and Kylo Ren was that kid, who was originally named Ben Solo. So I would think Han and Leia will remember having a second kid, and they would also remember dumping her on Jakku like that. So it's not possible. It is possible, but we don't know. You can also tell that Kylo Ren is not completely in tune with the Force, because at one point when Rey gets captured, he's interrogating her and trying to get into her mind, like he did with Poe earlier in the movie. But she's actually resisting and fighting back, and I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute, she's Force sensitive? Is she really Force sensitive? Because no one should be able to fight back that easy. And when she does successfully fight back, Ren has to storm out of the room, and he has to take his helmet off and get his head together, because he's not completely in tune, because I don't think we've ever seen anyone fight back against him in a long time. So then he goes to Supreme Leader Snoke, who was played or voiced by Andy Serkis, and he's this really big Sith Lord hologram. Now, we don't know anything about Snoke other than he's been in like 3 or 4 scenes talking from hologram from somewhere else, kind of like the Emperor was in the original Star Wars. What we do know is he's the big, big bad guy. That's basically it. Who is he really? How did he come across Kylo Ren? We don't really know about that, but in the flashback scene, we do know that at some point Luke Skywalker was running the Jedi Academy, and Ren went to the dark side and killed all of the siblings, all the Jedi students there, except Luke and whoever else was there. So Luke is the only one left, and he just disappeared after that. But now we have to talk about one particular scene. Obviously, the worst scene in the movie. Not worst per se as in a bad scene, but the scene that made everybody cringe. The scene that pretty much solidified Kylo Ren as a complete villain. And that is the scene with Han Solo. My God. Later on in the movie, as they're trying to sabotage Starkiller Base, Han, Chewie, Rey, and Finn are secretly walking around a la like the Death Star in Episode 4. And there's a scene where Kylo Ren is walking across the bridge by himself, and Han steps out on the bridge and shouts his name and says, "Ben!" And I said to myself, okay, they're not going to do what I think they're going to do. They're really not going to go this route. They can't. They're not going to do it. You're really not about to do what I think you're about to do. And it happens. Kylo Ren stabs Han Solo in the chest, and he dies. And he kills him. He falls off the bridge to his death. And what makes this scene sadder is the fact that as soon as it happened, Chewie just let out this huge scream and detonated a whole bunch of bombs that had been placed in the first place. Adding on to the fact that Han and Ben were having a conversation, and he was trying to convince him to stop all this, and Ren is just saying, "It's too late for me, and I'm conflicted, and I need some help." So, and even as Han is dying, he kind of like braces the side of his face like he's still suddenly inside, and he just falls. And even Leia could feel that, and that just sold it even more. And Chewie actually gets a shot off at him. He actually legitimately shoots him in the side. And he's actually bleeding at some point. Like, ugh. At this point, I'm at the movie saying, you know what, fuck this. Fuck this movie for that scene. I mean, it was a good movie all, but still. A character like Han Solo, who we've known for nearly 40 years, is now dead. We will never see him again alive. That's it. He's gone. Though most of this probably has to do with the fact that Harrison Ford hasn't really been a fan of Han Solo since the 80s. I mean, he did want him killed off in Return of the Jedi, but George Lucas said no, he has to stay alive. And he wasn't really eager to return to be Han Solo all that much. He just kind of wanted him out of the way. I think I remember somewhere there was an interview with him promoting Return of the Jedi back in the 80s, and he supposedly walked off set. Now, honestly, you can't help but feel a little disappointed that you can't see a resolution between Luke and Rey. But it leaves you wondering, okay, where are they going to pick up with the story after this? I don't know. We'll finally get some resolution as to why Rey is Force sensitive and where Luke has been and what happened between him and Kylo Ren all those years ago. All in all, it was a terrific film. It was a great way to end the year. It was completely worth the money. I can't wait to see where the story picks up. I can't wait to see all the villains and heroes come back and be fleshed out. I can't wait to see anything else that happens. All in all, a terrific film. So, Star Wars The Force Awakens. I'm sure you've seen it by now. What was your favorite part in the movie? Whatever you think, leave me a comment below and tell me how you feel. Also, don't forget to check out my Twitter at AsteroidMike. Don't forget to check out my blog. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Click on the link below, watch some other movies, or wait till the next slide. And as always, I will see you around.